I had to choose one book that is the best book that I've read per month so far this year, these are the ones I would be choosing. It's going to be especially challenging, but at this point I've accepted that the more I struggle with a challenge, the more you like it. I did that a couple years ago on Instagram and I thought it would be fun. So let's choose one book per month. I'm going to put all the books that I've read each month on the screen so you can kind of see what I did end up reading that month, and I'm going to choose one. Some months choosing one is going to be hard because I haven't read that many that were great, and then some other months it's the opposite. I've read so many fantastic ones that choosing one is hard. So let's get to it. So in January, I finished 8 books, and there's also 9 that I DNF, so did not finish, which, to be fair, 6 of them were part of a challenge, but I just think it's crazy to read 9. But yes, I finished 8 of them. By the way, I think I'm going to stick to naming my fiction books that were my favorite ones. I'll do a specific video like I did last year reviewing all the nonfiction. But so out of the 8 that I've read, none were 5-star, so just keep that in mind, at least in terms of fiction. But quick shout out to Kaiju, the Preservation Society one. This one is a 4-star. I feel like there was just so much potential. It's not the one I'm picking, so I don't even know what I'm talking about it, but I feel like this one, I resented the action. I wish it had been a cozy one, because you're following this person, they lost their job during the pandemic, and they are offered one that sounds a little too good to be true, and they end up working in a parallel universe taking care of kaiju monsters that are basically like Godzillas. And it was funny, but I feel like sometimes, I don't know, I feel like it could have been just a really nice, cozy one. I resented the whole saving the world thing. It was not necessary. Anyway, the winner, a bit to my surprise, is going to be Nettle and Bone, which did not expect to like this one as much as I did. I listened to it as an audiobook, so that might have helped. Essentially kind of a almost fairy tale-esque fantasy book. You're following this princess. She's been extremely sheltered, and she was basically raised like a nun, and she ends up having to go and save her sister from a bad marriage. Frankly, it doesn't sound like something I'm usually that into, especially the tone of the book, but it worked for me. So yeah, this is the best one that I've read that month. Probably not a 5-star, it's probably like a 4 point something, but overall enjoyable and would recommend. Kind of cozy feels somehow. You're gonna see that theme also throughout the year. I've been really discovering cozy books. I just did a video on that topic, but it's been the year for it in 2023. So February, I finished 13, and in February, if you haven't seen it, basically the whole month I was doing a challenge where I was doing 1 week, 1 shelf. So I had to pick a shelf number from a jar, and I had to solely read books from that shelf. Personally, right now, my bookshelves are divided by genre, so it meant a different genre every week. It's a fun challenge, but it doesn't mean I'm gonna read like the books I'm the most looking forward to. Like often it's books that I kind of forgot existed. So it's good for me. But also that month was all over the place rating wise. I don't feel like I found that many that were like all-time favorites. Definitely went through books that I had been meaning to pick up for a long time. So there's that. So the favorite actually ends up being a classic, which I don't think happens very often on my channel, but North and South. I do have a list of classic books that I feel like I want to read one day. And that was definitely on a list like that, although it's more recent. I feel like I was trying to find more classics written by women, and this one took me by surprise by how politically involved it was. I really wasn't expecting that. It's definitely surrounding, like, you have this family that lived in the countryside, very like, you know, nice idyllic life, but her father is a, what is it in English? Not a priest, vicared? I don't know. And he loses all their money and they have to go and work in the city, and you get a lot of like industrial revolution vibes, which I enjoy that part so much more than I expected. The only thing is I didn't care for the romance, but I liked everything else in this book. So would recommend, definitely a classic that took me by surprise and I ended up enjoying it a lot more than I expected. But yeah, definitely the best one that I read that month. It was, again, probably like a 4-star, so like not bad at all, but I don't feel like there are many options on that list that I really cared for. But March, we get the opposite. I finished 9 books, which pretty proud of that one. And it's kind of hard to choose a favorite because I did get to a few that I ended up enjoying. The first one, shout out. It's not the winner, but the shout out, The Wall. One of the most depressing books I have read, which there's a team. I seem to enjoy cozy books or depressing books, at least this year. And this one is definitely a depressing one, but shout out. You have this woman who goes on a vacation with this couple, and they're like in the mountains. Her friends go into town for a while and then they don't come back. So when she goes to figure out what happened, she realizes that she's stuck behind an invisible wall. And I like these kind of books. They're kind of like speculative fiction, kind of like dystopian. And yeah, can't recommend this enough if you like, again, very depressing books. But you're following her day-to-day life. She's stuck basically completely alone. There's only like a cow, a cat, and a dog, and she lives her day-to-day life. Yeah. But the winner, I will have to give it to A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. This is the prequel to The Priory of the Orange Tree, which is an adult standalone fantasy that everyone raved about, myself included. You have magical dragons, and I just really like the prequel even more than the actual book. So would highly recommend this one. It's, I think, the biggest book that I've read so far this year. It's like 880 pages or something. And it was fantastic. You can read it before the other one. It's up to you. But yeah, I really like this one. I feel like this one, each point of view was stronger. I feel like in the first book, some point of views I like less, but in this one, I was emotionally invested in everyone. So yeah, definitely the best one that I've read during the month of March. That one will definitely make it to my best of the year. I feel like some of the other ones, probably not, but this one, yes. During the month of April, I struggled. I only finished 6 books, and one of them was a reread. I don't often reread books, but it is what it is. Quick shout out to City of Stairs. This one is an adult fantasy with a like murder mystery, which I've noticed that it's something I really enjoy. So quick shout out, but am I cheating? Maybe, maybe not. I wanted to recommend Moi qui n'ai pas connu les hommes, which is I Who Have Never Known Men. This is the reread. I read it in English in December last year, and it ended up being my best book of the year. And I reread it and loved it even more the second time around. I love it, okay? I don't care if it's cheating or not. It's my channel, my rules. I love it. Again, incredibly depressing, but I have been recommending this book nonstop. On here, in real life, I love it. It's like 200 pages, so like, no excuses. Super quick. But it's another like dystopian, mostly like speculative fiction, which I've realized now that I love that genre. And you're following this group of women who were underground in a cage and they managed to escape and they're just trying to find answers. Don't expect to get answers. It's not a spoiler to say that, but I just wanted to put it out there because I'm usually a big hater of like not getting answers. But in this case, it worked. It just did. And I'm obsessed with this book. It's the kind of book that you put down when you're done and you're just staring at the wall for like a long time. And yeah, I reread it. It's one of the only like 3 books that I've reread in like 7 years. So, and I will continue to reread this book probably every year for the rest of my life. I loved it. May, we go back to struggling. I finished 7 books and a little bit all over the place once again. Nothing I really hated, and I did go through a little bit of a slump throughout the whole year really, but I ended up reading Isolated Barbarians, so that kind of gives you an idea. But the best book that I read was Clawdia, however you pronounce it, by Madeline Miller. This is, again, incredibly short. It's not even like 50 pages, but it was really good. I love her retelling. It's a retelling of, is it Pygmalion? It was great. This woman who is created by this man, the statue, and he's not a good person and you're just following her. And it was really good and easily the best book that I read that month. If you like Madeline Miller in retellings, this is like a must. Everything she writes is a must for sure. In June, we're back to struggling to find a favorite because so many good ones. I finished 9 books and I'm gonna give it to The Fate of the Tearling, which is the last book in this adult fantasy series. And I think this is an unpopular opinion, but a lot of people hated the ending, which frankly, again, in theory, I agree, because again, there are tropes that I feel like I hate in theory, but there are a few exceptions, and I feel like this one is the case and it works for me. I can spoil it in the comment section, but it would be a huge spoiler. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Adult fantasy, you're following this young woman who is a princess. She was hidden when she was a child because people were trying to kill her and her family. And then she ends up at 19 coming back, taking the throne. And like fantasy, there's magic. I really like the magic system. And yeah, I was really invested and I didn't mind the ending. Unpopular, but yeah, I didn't mind it. July, I also finished 9 books. That was a hell of a month. Extremes. I had 4 5-star books. Well, 5 if you count in nonfiction. So choosing one is like basically impossible because there are 2 series of 2 books that I've read 2 books from in that month, and all 4 are 5-star. So you have the Greenbone Saga or the Neapolitan series. And I don't know. I love them all so much. I feel like I want to give it to the Greenmount Saga. So I've read Jade War and Jade Legacy, and I didn't cry because I don't really cry when I read books, but this broke me. Like I'm still in pain. I kind of resent the author. Like we need to talk. Like we need to talk. But I think I'm gonna give it to the Neapolitan series, which is like so weird because it is not my usual main genre. Like you have adult fantasy versus contemporary / maybe a little bit historical fiction. This was so good. There's one more book that I need to read in this quartet. So the last book, I started it, but I'm in the most horrible reading slump at the moment. So I only read like 50 pages and put it down. It is not due to the book. But you're following these two friends their whole life. They live in Italy, and you're following them, the train wreck that they're going through the whole life. And I'm so invested, but I want to finish it when I'm not feeling like this. So right now it's just not the time, but I will be finishing this series. And I'm telling you already, unless the ending of the 4th book is awful, this is going to be an all-time favorite series, like ever. So yeah, I am giving it that. I'm really surprised, but yeah. I love the Greenbone Saga though, so if you're looking for more underrated kind of fantasy series, you have to read that one. But yeah, I'm Neapolitan. I started a TV show, by the way, and it's good. Like I feel like it really follows the books, but yeah, I'm not done with the books. I don't want to go too far into TV show, but yes, so good. August, another one that I have so many to choose from because I finished 12 books, which is shocking. And a lot of them were really good. I did go through a phase of cozy books because I was trying to get out of my slump that's been on and off all year. Like I went through Bookshops and Bone Dust, which is coming out the first week of November. I also went through The Fragile Threads of Power, which is really popular, just came out. But I think I'm gonna give it to Bloodchild and Other Stories by Octavia E. Butler. She is an all-time favorite author. I think I only have 2 full-length novels by her. This was one of the only ones I hadn't read yet, and it's a collection of short stories. And what I really loved about this one, like not all stories were personally 5-star, but overall it's a 5-star because I feel like it really humanized the author even more. You get the story and then you get an afterwards, so you get more about like what brought her to write this, how it affected her. You can also see each stories, like they're not in order that they were like written, and you can tell which ones are older because you can see that she's, you know, progressing as a writer. And I feel like you can also see which ones were ideas that eventually became full-length novels. And I love her. I feel like her books are really depressing, even though they always have like an undercurrent of hope. And there's one of the stories towards the end that is like her trying to write like a utopia, and it kind of doesn't work, but it kind of does. And I feel like it rings so true about like what you get from her as an author. And yeah, I love her. So obviously this one is the best one by her that I've read this year too. So then we have September, still a train wreck. I finished 11 books and I found some favorites, quite a few favorites, some good nonfiction too, but I think the best one, actually, quick shout out to Master of Jin. Again, if you are looking for an adult fantasy, this one is a standalone, although a lot of you told me that there's a bunch of short stories that are fantastic, which I will be reading them because of that. But it's an adult fantasy with a murder mystery, which again, I've noticed this is something I enjoy, so I will be reading more of those. But yes, that one was a good 5-star. I just need to give it to Garden Spells because it's Practical Magic 2.0. I've been raving about it. I will continue to do so because it's just, you know what? You need something at the moment and then you read it. I've been complaining really that I couldn't find good modern witches books. I just couldn't. Every time I would read them, I would hate them and often just not even finish them because it just wasn't what I wanted. And this is it. It is straight up Practical Magic 2.0, small town witches. I like that all the magic is different. I like that it's fairly cozy, even though there's like domestic violence. And I was scared a few times that it was going in a bad direction. Like, you know how sometimes they're just reading dated, but I think it's only 2008, so it's not that old. But every time I was like, oh no, don't like start bashing other women or something. It just wouldn't go there. And I was like, okay, cool. And yeah, just somehow it's cute vibes because there's romance and it it's what I needed, okay? It is. So I do have the second book. I'm gonna read that in November to try and like get out of the slump because yeah, I really liked it, okay? It is what it is. I've accepted that I'm a cozy girly at the moment, and this is what I wanted, so 5-star for sure. And I would include one for October, even though the month is not done, but frankly, I'm looking at what I've been reading and nothing I've finished is like over a 4-star, like 4 up. So we're not choosing one for October, at least not yet. So yeah, these are the best books that I've read per month so far this year. I would be really curious to hear what your answers would be. And if you've read any of the books that I've mentioned and you're shocked that they didn't win, let me know. I would love to debate that, discuss that in the comment section. And generally speaking, if you just enjoy this type of like content, let me know, because I could do that every year around, you know, September, October, because it's a quick, fun way to discuss the books that I've read so far this year. And it's not going to be necessarily the same answers as my best books of the year. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed this. Thumbs up, subscribe. I will put more videos on the screen that I recommend you check out. And I will see you in an upcoming video very soon. Bye.